Hello and welcome to the Broadway Q&A presented by Playbill and The Growing Studio. I'm Danny George. Every Monday and Wednesday, I sit down with different directors, choreographers, composers, music directors, lyricists, you name it. Every Friday, I chat with the leading musical theater and acting colleges. For all of our latest information on all our upcoming streams, check us out on Instagram. It's at Playbill and at The Growing Studio. Now, today's guest is very special. He is one of the most prolific directors of our time. I'll never forget when this director came into the Growing Studio, led a class, and then sat down with me and said, hey, we need to chat about how this class goes. He literally directed the class and directed the class. He is brilliant. He is wonderful. I want to welcome Scott Ellis. Scott, are you there?
I'm here. Oh my God. I'm still embarrassed that you brought that up.
No, I loved it. It was great.
That I gave you notes on your class. Oh
no, it was perfect. Listen, you're always directing, and it just shows how much you champion actors, and I
do love actors. Yes.
Yeah, how's it going? Where are you?
Well, we're in Atlantic Beach, Florida. When Take Me Out stopped rehearsals, my husband and our two kids were down here on spring break, so I just jumped on a plane. New York hadn't quit yet. I hadn't stopped yet. So I came down and thinking we'd go right back. And then things started changing. And my brother had a condo here in Atlantic Beach. So we sort of moved in. No one was in it, thinking we'd be here for 2 weeks. And 4.5 months later, here we are. So
it's wild, isn't it? My family lives in Miami. And yeah, my dad is almost 80. So and he has health conditions. So I instantly just got him in the car, made him drive up here. And now they're with me in Connecticut.
I mean, it's interesting because when we were down here, of course, it was all New York. And now New York has really taken care of itself in a great way. And then Florida, more problems. So
yeah. How's quarantining with 10-year-old twins?
Let's do it again. It's not fun. I would talk to friends who I'm glad they're 10 years old because it was a little easier. I mean, for people who have younger kids, I can't imagine, so they at least, were able to focus on Zoom for a while. But the one thing I will not miss. And yet we don't know what's going to happen now that we're going back. So
of course, my husband and I are due in November, and it will be quite an adventure.
Oh my God! Congratulations!
Thank you so much. I have a million questions for you. I'm sure I'll ask you all the things.
And I have some answers for you.
Now, if any of our viewers have questions for Scott, go ahead and comment on Facebook or YouTube. We'll be bringing a couple of you onto the broadcast today to ask Scott a question for yourselves. So with that, I want to get started with a quick lightning fire round. I'm going to ask you a whole bunch of questions. Go ahead and answer as quickly as possible. Do not get stressed out. You're going to be perfect.
Okay.
What
are you asking me? Never mind. Just go.
Just a whole bunch of things. First question, where were you born?
Washington, D.C.
Favorite vegetable?
Broccoli.
Favorite fruit?
Banana.
How many Broadway shows have you directed?
No clue. I can tell you, no clue. I'll say 21. I have no clue.
It's more than that. First musical you ever directed?
Off Broadway, Flora the Red Menace. On Broadway, She Loves Me.
Celebrity dream crush?
Oh God! Oh wow! There's so many.
I know.
I had a celebrity dream crush. Honestly, just because I love her so much, was Kelly O'Hara, who I love so much.
She's lovely.
And then I got to work with her, so that was like I was always sort of in awe of her from afar, and then we got to work with her. So that
makes perfect sense. How brilliant is Jane Krakowski?
Beyond brilliant. Beyond. Are we doing this fast? I'll just say.
Yeah, it's okay. Tell me fast.
Oh my God, no, brilliant. She was when we first time I ever we were doing Company, and she played the airline stewardess, and she in the part of the show when we were rehearsing, when she was talking, she would put her arms up and she would do this airline sort of movement. I thought, okay, that's so beyond genius. And so I just fell in love with it from then on. Yeah, the best.
She just makes me giggle with laughter every time I do anything. Favorite vacation spot?
Costa Rica.
Ice cream flavor?
Vanilla.
Favorite pop artist?
Uh, Prince.
Chicago, of course. Chicago, New York, or LA?
Well, I went to school in Chicago. I love Chicago, but I'd still have to say New York, Chicago, LA in that order.
Favorite tech snack?
Tech snack.
Tech snack. Snack during tech.
Oh, I thought it was like something on a something my kids doing. I don't know what are they doing? These crazy kids. What are they doing? Almonds.
I've heard you're notorious at the tech table of just grabbing and going.
I eat. I always tell everybody around me, I said, don't bring too much stuff in because I'm just going to be, I tend to have stuff that I'm always chumping on.
Good.
And by the way, I think I lied to you. I'd like to think it was almonds. It's probably like, Oreo cookies.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah,
we all say almonds, but
of course they do.
it's almonds and blueberries, but really, it's like a Snickers bar and Oreos. Of course. I have a first question from the general public. I think this is so interesting, so I can't wait to ask. This is from Craig Hall from Mesa, Arizona. When you were looking for actors for Take Me Out, did you find many actors refuse to be in the buff on stage?
Good question in the sense that we were always very upfront about it. If people didn't know that they did know the play, they knew there was a shower scene, a couple of them. And if they didn't, we would say there is nudity. And when I started talking to a few of the actors later on, I said, just so we're clear, I'm not pretending that we're not in a shower. I'm not hiding behind something. You're walking in, we're doing the shower scene, and it's so not what it's about. It just happens to be the action that it takes place, where it takes place. So we've got, my guess is there were some people who said, I'm not interested, but everyone who said yes understands that.
Cool. This next question is from Greg Yonakura. The question is, what show have you never directed to that you'd like to, and why?
Oh man, there's so many. Wow. I got an experience several years ago to go to San Diego and do my first Shakespeare. I did Comedy of Errors, and they were so incredible to give me that offer and say, pick something. So I would want to say another Shakespeare play, just because I love the language and I had such an incredible time doing it, and it was just a real highlight. So I would say I'll pick a Shakespeare. I'm sort of obsessed with Hamlet, but I'm not saying I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
It's just something that it was very freeing to do something way out of my comfort zone.
Yeah, how nice to change it up.
Oh, it was great. So,
I have a viewer who'd like to come on and ask you a question, so we're going to go ahead and bring them on.
Okay.
Hello.
Hello.
I'm Jakira, and I am from Rosenberg, Texas. I go to Sam Houston State University.
Nice.
And my question for you is, what is your biggest mistake you made at the start of your career, and what advice would you give your younger self?
It's a great question.
Wow, that's a great question. It's a little depressing because I have had so many mistakes and things that I would tell myself. We'd have to be here for a very, very long time. What's the biggest mistake? I'm serious. I've made a lot of mistakes. I think it would be the same thing. I would tell you my mistake, and I would tell you what I would suggest. So I think fear can overrun people sometimes, as far as trying things and taking chances. And I think I tried to change that up as I was going through my career, but try not to protect yourself. I'm going to give advice now first, not to try to protect yourself, as far as if you feel like this is a little scary or something, it's probably a good sign to do it, and try to change it up all the time. I did, my first thing was a revival. So all of a sudden I was doing revivals, and I was like, well, I want to do, a new musical. So then I did new musicals. I want to do a play. So I tried to change it up as much as I can, so you don't get pigeonholed in one thing. And the biggest, I know the biggest mistake. I'm not going to say it was a mistake because it worked out fine, but when I went to school at the Goodman School of Drama in Chicago. The Alley Theater had come forward. They had auditioned a lot of students for a play called The Happy Time. I was cast. It was the lead. And then I got cast in another show on Broadway as an actor that brought me to Broadway, and I canceled out that show. I had to write them a letter saying, I can't come to do that play. And the artistic director wrote me a note saying, I understand that, okay, but I'm just giving you a word of advice. If you commit to something, you should commit to something. And that was a mistake I made, because I've been in this situation where other now actors have done that sometimes for me, and I go, oh, that's something you can't do. So that was a big mistake I made. I haven't thought about it, so thank you for making me think about it and to giving me something else to talk about in therapy. I really appreciate it. And the list is so long. I didn't think I could. What grade? Where are you in school wise? What grade? Not grade, but what? Yeah, year.
My junior year.
So you have one more year. One more year? Oh,
yeah.
Very nice. And what's your plan? Are you planning to stay or to go someplace, or what are you thinking?
Eventually I want to move to New York, do the whole nines, audition, live my dream, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, a little bit scary trying to move to the big city.
There's one other thing. Just remember, there are a lot of great places. You know, there's a lot of great places to go and begin. If New York becomes like, well, that's too much, you know, DC, Chicago. My God, Chicago is such a great theater school. I mean, there are a lot of places. So don't pigeonhole and go, well, it's either New York or LA. Or I always say there's other places you can go and keep working and exploring and feeling comfortable and before you jump into the city. So that's it.
Thank you.
Jakira, thank you so much. It's
Nice meeting you. Good luck.
Take care.
Bye.
She's so cute. Scott, this next question, what makes you want to hire an actor?
First of all, I love actors. I just love actors. Maybe because I started as an actor, so I always sort of understood that part of that, what you have to go through. With the actors, it's always, for me, there's a gut feeling of, do I want to be in a room with them, you know, for this whole process? Yes, it has to do a lot with auditions or if you're making an offer, but a lot of it is just a gut reaction of, am I going to enjoy this person in a room? That's a major thing for me. So I think as talented as someone can be, if I'm getting a feeling like this is not going to be a collaborative, enjoyable situation, I won't go down the path, you know. So and I'm not sure what advice that is an actor. I just know as a director, that's what I always look for. You're great, you'll be terrific, but the most important thing is I can't wait to get into a room with you and start exploring. That's a big thing.
What makes you want to rehire an actor?
For the exact same reason.
Okay.
They were great. They were great in a room. I had an incredibly wonderful experience. I believe a room needs to be a collaboration. Everyone needs to be heard. Eventually, I'm the one that's going to have to say yay or nay. But I think if you can play ball with somebody, and that to me is that's what those rooms are all about.
Right.
If it's a good room. So if I've hired people back, and I've done that a lot, it's just because I think they're A, great, and B, I loved being in a room with them. So why wouldn't I want to go back and explore something else, you know? So that's my answer.
Thanks. So many of the Broadway directors I chat with have such a strong interest in working in television and film, but have not made the plunge yet. You clearly have done so and done so very successfully. So my question is, how was that transition? How was that first time working on set? How quickly did you have to learn?
I got very lucky. I mean, I worked really hard to get in there. It's a very tight room to push in. It's not easy. And I went out and observed for a year, almost 2 years on shows. And I never got a shot, or I didn't get a shot. And I finally was given a shot by David Lee, who created Frasier. He wanted more theater people on, and so he gave me a shot. So you have to have someone to say yes. Everyone has to have someone to say yes. And I remember on set, both that and 30 Rock was my first single camera show, and that was because of Alec Baldwin bringing me on. But I remember looking around going, I have no clue what these cameras are doing. No clue. I have none. I don't know what the hell's going on. I don't know nothing. But I do remember thinking that I can learn. Learning how to speak to actors, that's much harder. And I felt comfortable with that. So I really leaned on that as I was learning about the cameras. And that's what it is. And I remember the first time I went up to each camera guy or the DP and say, I haven't done this. So if you have a better idea, when I give you a shot, if you have a better idea, please let me know. And so there was no pretending of an ego. There was no ego. Theater, television, it's all a collaboration. So
as actors, a lot of times we have to shift from camera to screen, from screen to stage, because it is just it's the same medium, but it's such a different medium.
Yeah.
Do you find that you have to shift as well when going in between stage and television?
That's a good question. You're still telling stories. You're just telling stories through lens, and you have to create how you're going to tell the audience where to look. Where on stage they can look wherever they want to. So I tend to ask the same questions. It's television. It's just very, very fast. It's very fast. And so you have to ask the questions fast. You have to, make an actor feel comfortable. So, no, you don't have the luxury of time. It's just you do pre-production, and then once you get the actors, you're doing it fast. So my brain has to shift on that a little bit. But the finding out what a scene is about, that's the same. You just have to do it shorter, much quicker. That's it.
Thank you. This next question is from.
Am I boring you? I feel I'm boring. As I'm talking.
No. No, do you know what? That was a question for me. It wasn't even from the audience, because I wanted to know. I find it so interesting.
Yeah, and when you start doing television, you'll notice it's just everything is just faster. It's just fast. You just don't have as much time. So, but everything you've learned in theater, certainly from a director, will only help you in television.
Yeah.
That's what I found.
Totally. I just find it so fascinating. It's of such interest.
Yeah, it really is great.
This next question is from Jeremy Bogle from Oakland, California. Hey, Scott, you've directed so many revivals and worked with amazing people, from your cast to your choreographers to your designers. What is it about a classic show that speaks to you in such a way that you say to yourself, I'd really like to try my hand at that show and see it again on a Broadway stage? What do you look for in the projects you choose to direct?
Great question, everyone. I guess there'll be two things. My initial is just my initial reaction of, am I drawn into this story? Is this something, and let's just talk about revivals for a second. So is it something that I look at and go, people should see this again. It hasn't been done. It hasn't been done for, let's say, 20th century. I'm just going to jump onto that. So in the 20th century, that musical had not been done for 20 years. It's a very long time. And so I thought, I think this is a wonderful musical. It should be seen again. So that was number one. I loved the score. It was a show I saw when I was younger. But part B of that was I was looking to do something with Chenoweth. So we were friends. So I was trying to pair something together. And so those two worlds come together for me somewhat. So that's two, but it's really just a gut thing of, is this something? Again, I'm talking about revivals. Is this something that I feel like should be seen again, and am I connecting with it? I remember when I did 1776 the first time. I connected with that because it was the first Broadway show I ever saw. In 7th grade, my dad brought me up, so it was a memory I had. And when I looked at it, I went, I want to give that memory again to people who haven't seen that show. So that's sort of how it is.
Thank you. No, it's a great answer. I have another viewer I'd like to bring on, a test question.
Great. I love these surprises. I love it. Oh, gosh.
Jane, you're muted.
Well, Scott. Oh, my lovely, most adored director, Scott Ellis.
Oh my God. I'm blushing. Why
am I blushing is the weird thing. I knew about this.
I'm just saying, and now I'm backing up, and I thought, well, when you asked me about Jane, thank God I just went on, which was not true. You know, can you imagine if I said, no, I like her. You know, there was a few things that,
I mean, she's difficult. She's difficult, but
I mean, she's, you know, I have to
sometimes
think
it's difficult. Hi, how are you, Scott?
Oh, hi.
So have you discussed how many shows we've done together and which ones? And
we haven't done that yet.
Haven't gotten there yet.
No, let's talk about it, please. Jane,
I said a moment about company, and when I said, listen, I fell in love with her from the beginning, believe me. But when she did a scene, you did a scene, and you did this, and you used the airline stewardess moment to talk, and I remember sitting there thinking, okay, that's brilliant. That's brilliant. And, that's true. I think that's when I fell in love with you. Seriously.
That's so sweet.
I was just like, yeah.
Company was a really special time, and I remember. I mean, it was early days for me in my career too, because I came in and sang like an uptune and a ballad.
You did.
Yeah. It was the good old days. Did you make me read a piece?
I did. Times have changed. Times have changed. I just often.
It wasn't even. I think it wasn't even like material from the show, because that tends to be what you do for Broadway auditions, right? Like when you get to a certain time in the audition process, like after meeting and a callback or two, then you're usually asked to do the material for the character from the show. But for some reason, for that one, I think I just brought in like a sonnet.
You just brought a sonnet. It's not enough
in company.
It was.
Thank God you ignored all that and still hired me.
Somehow I was smart enough to do. Somehow I was.
Because it's been a very long and loving relationship.
Yeah, it truly
has. Scott is one of my favorite directors because Scott is wickedly smart and he knows exactly what he's doing, but he makes you think you came up with all the genius. And then you'll be doing something, you're like, wow, this must really be great. And then Scott will be like, why don't you I think you were on the right track earlier. Really, the best ideas he's had in his mind from the beginning, and he just guides you there so you think you came up with it. It just makes us all feel so great as actors.
Okay, well, that's very nice, but I have always said that the most important thing a director can do is cast. That's it. That's the number one thing. So I will give myself credit. I have a lot of insecurities, but I will give myself credit that I'm good at casting. I have a gut thing with people, and we were talking earlier about people who I just want to be in a room with. And that's what it is. I just get actors in there that I love and that I trust, and that I feel, and we've done so many stuff, but I always feel like the room's fun and collaborative, and we work and we try, and that's the best part of it, And
I will say, I never felt it more strongly when we were lucky enough to do She Loves Me together, which was a joyous production from start to finish. But working with you, Warren, Gavin, and myself on Gavin's number, Alona, it sort of was that great combustion of everyone's creative juices combining, and within like a day, we made that number what it was, and it just sort of felt like everyone was saying, oh, this would be fun, and this is fun, and I can do that, and I can do this, and it became the best of everyone's skills that sort of came together. And I was really worried that Scott was going to be like, okay, guys, bring this shit down. Instead, he's like, no, this is a celebration of your character's love and flirtation together, and you let us ride it out and have that beautiful, I thought, high point for our characters in that number.
Well, listen, that was perfect. But again, you can't do it without actors. You can't do it without great people. You just can't, you know. And it's for me, I'm always sitting back, and to have, you know, Jane in a room. Are you kidding me? I mean, it's just like beyond. And because you're always expecting, you always know you're going to get something special and unique, and we laugh. We do laugh. Oh my God, we laugh. There's a lot of laughter.
How could you not?
So much great laughter, and that's what I miss the most. I miss being in the room, the collaborative room with everybody right now. I mean, the fact that we don't know when that will return is hard, but I do hope it does return in whatever shape or form it does, because I even get like, it's just even nice to see you over Zoom. You know, we're in such weird times, and I can't wait till we all get to collaborate again, if you'll have me, Mr. Ellis.
Speaking of collaboration, I just want to pause. Someone bring on another viewer, if that's okay.
Oh no! Oh my God! It's just getting too much. It's like best day of my life. Oh my God!
Hello, we can't see.
Muted, or you can't see us.
Oh, he's gone.
Challenged.
He's gone at Santino. Oh my God!
He'll be back in a second. There we go.
Come back in a second.
Hello.
Hello.
How are you?
What's going on?
Well, how much did you have to pay him to do this? That's what I'm going to say.
We could have gotten paid.
Yeah, no, he paid me. It was crazy.
A lot of cash.
Come on.
Yeah.
Come on.
I'm in a sauna right now. See?
Hey, buddy. Hi.
Oh God.
I was just texting him. He's looking to get on an RV. I would die to follow you with Santino on an RV. That's all I'm going to say.
Well, listen, while I have you all here, I want to play a little game while we still have Jane called Did Jane Say This? And these will be different Jane Krakowski quotes, and we have to guess if Jane has said these or not.
Okay, Scott knows me very well.
I'm not going to win this. I'm going to be terrible at this.
Just to keep things even, Scott will guess first, then Santino, and Jane. Are you ready?
Sure.
Great. This is a quote. We'll start. I'm pretty much flunking the third grade at this point.
I'd say yes, she said that.
No.
The answer is yes.
The answer is yes. This was said on the Kelly Clarkson show about talking about homeschooling. Next question. I've taken up ukulele. It seems easy to carry around. It's lighter than a harp.
I mean, I'm going to say she would have said that, but I'm going to say she didn't say that.
No.
I'm going to say she said that. I'm going
to say no.
I have said that.
No, well said. The next one. I want to know why I never meet their mother.
But she said that in a show.
Yes, she did say that in the show. We can end it right there. That's perfect. Next one. Broadway is where my heart lives.
I'm going to say yes. Yes. Isn't that with everyone's heart lives? I mean, yes.
Do you remember?
I think that's a yes.
You did say that. Yes, you did. You said it with Live with Kelly and Ryan. This next one. I caught crabs in paradise.
Is that a lyric? That's a lyric, isn't it?
I can't tell you.
I don't think it's a lyric. It's not from a show. So
and it's not my real life. I'd like to just make clear.
I'm just going to say yes on one of the shows. Maybe Kimmel. I'm just going to say yes. It's a funny line. If
I'll say yes. Why not?
It was a Jenna Maroney song. One of the hits of Jenna Maroney on 30 Rock.
Okay.
Crabs in Paradise. Yeah.
Speaking of other lines from shows, this might be one from a show. It might not. She might have said it. She might not. So you have to guess. Next to aging and sun exposure, jogging is one of the leading causes of wrinkles.
It's so specific, and everything has been a yes so far. Your track record, Penny, everything is a yes. I say yes.
I'm going to say yes too.
It's actually a quote from Picnic when I did it at Williamstown. No, it's not. Can you imagine? Mr. Logan wrote that. No, that was from Ally McBeal. That was my character made a face bra because of the wrinkles for jogging.
Right.
I have a couple more. They get better as we go. I call character roles second bananas.
I call character roles second bananas. I'm gonna say no because I'm gonna say no, but
No.
Okay, so I do say the parts that I get are second banana roles usually. They're usually the secondary female, alto vocal role. So my dad called it that, which he only meant it as a compliment, but now it's stuck.
doesn't sound like one.
It sounds lovely.
Second banana, right?
Speaking of, I worked my way up to Tiny Tim.
Yes.
Yeah, that's from 30 Rock, isn't it?
No, that's actually my real
That's
life.
her life. She actually did play Tim.
No.
Yeah.
You saying that.
My first time ever on stage, I was an additional Cratchit child in A Christmas Carol, an unbilled Cratchit child, because my parents couldn't get a babysitter. The next year, I worked my way up to Tiny Tim. I wanted to be the lead.
And this is the last one. Dancing is my favorite thing to do.
Yes. Yes.
No.
I'm not sure if I've said that.
You did say it on Broadway.com, Ask a Star. So you said everything. They were all yes.
Dang.
Jane, do you have a question for Scott from a viewer?
I do actually, Scott.
Oh my God.
Here's my question.
Then I've got to tell a story about Santino.
No.
I understand that, even though I'm
Yes,
probably
I'm going to tell a story about Santino.
Okay.
Go.
Jaden Josias from Orlando, Florida, wants to know, which do you like to direct Jane Krakowski more in? No, that's amazing. It wasn't that personal. Which do you like to direct more, theater, film, or television?
Theater. I made a deal with myself, although things going to be different now. But I always made a deal with I made an early deal with myself when I started directing television, and that is I would never say yes to directing a television show unless I knew what my next theater gig was. That was the rule, and I stuck with that. And if there's any conflict, it would be a no. That's nothing. It's always. I was on a meeting during this whole Zoom thing about a film in the spring, and I finally, one of the producers said, well, I have a show that's supposed to be opening this spring. She said, okay, do you have to be there all the time? And I was like, yeah, you do. Yeah, it's theater. You do. But there's no question it's theater. That's it. Done. Yeah.
Okay, here's my personal question. How are you at directing one-woman shows over Zoom? And can I be in one, please?
Yes. And we'll do that.
Camera one?
And Santino will come in as a
Camera one? Camera one? No.
Camera one. Do that again. Come back into the camera. Leave the camera. No, come back in. Now leave the camera. No, I can do that. I'm good at that. Yeah. I'm going to tell you my Santino story.
Yes, please.
Yes.
Why? What's going on? I feel like we're
going to
off
tell you my
track.
Santino story because you talked about Jane and actors and why I want to work with people and actors. And I've told this story before, but I'm going to tell it one more time. That Santino had asked me to come up. I'd never worked with him, didn't know. We went up and explored a piece that he wanted to do up at New York Stage and Film, Roar the Grease Paint. He called me, so you want to go? I was a fan. I said, sure. Yeah, great. So we went up there, and I think we had a pretty great time for 2 weeks. But I fell in love with the way Santino worked. Maybe not everyone likes how certain actors work or how they work, but I loved how Santino worked. There was nothing that wasn't questioned. There was nothing that wasn't tried. It was constant. People could say it could wear you down, but it doesn't. It only lifts you up because he challenges you constantly, and I think that's a great thing. And when Tootsie came around, Santino and I had just been joking about. We had heard the Tootsie stuff was sort of floating around, and we both just said, "Why haven't we been offered that? We weren't offered that. What's that? Remember that, Santino?"
Yeah.
And then literally, I think 2 days later, I got the script, and the first person I called was Santino. I said, "You're not going to believe this. I was just sent the script for Tootsie," and so we started talking, and I sent him the script because I said, you should look at this too. Because I knew in my guts, I just knew there was never, if I was going to do it, it was only going to be with Santino. That was it. I just knew that he had every single thing. But it was only because if I hadn't worked with him, that would never have been, I wouldn't have had that certainty. But I was 100% certain about it. And that was it. And that's how that whole thing, we were a team from the very, very beginning all the way to the very end. There wasn't anything that we didn't talk about. There wasn't any, there were times when he would call me and I would want to hang the fuck up.
Say that.
Sorry. But he's he's the best, and it goes into that whole world of, look at that. You have two incredible actors that I just feel I'm fortunate enough to have worked with. That's all. That's the cream of the crop right there. So that's what it's about. So.
Well, Jane, when we think of brilliant and smart and hilarious and beautiful women, you are the first person that comes to mind. Thank you. So it's 100% truthful. Thank you so much for being here. I so appreciate it.
Bye, Santino.
Love you.
I love you.
Love you, Jane. Jane, thank you. What a
Bye. It's going to be an awkward leave because I'm not sure how to leave.
Santino, how's it going?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. Where are you quarantining?
I'm in Maine.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, that's the way to be. Santino, do you have a question for Scott from a viewer?
Yes, I do. From Taylor Aragon from Jersey City, who wants to know, when first accepting a project, what are some of your first steps in the directing process?
Once I accept the process, the first thing would be to sit down. Well, first time before accepting the process, if it's a writer, I would sit down with the writer and make sure we're on the same wavelength or it's something. I'm always saying, listen, I want to make sure they're as comfortable with me as I'm comfortable with them. If for any reason we're not working together, why do it? Why? So that's my first thing is the writer. That's the most important collaboration. If it's a musical, after the writing team, book, lyrics, music, then it's the choreographer, because the choreographer for me in a musical is equal. Choreographer, it's you're dancing the same dance together. So then it's the design team, start filling in the design team. And finally it's the actors, which seems crazy because they become the most important people in the show. But they, for the most of the time, are the last ones invited to play, so to speak. So unless you have something like Santino and Tootsie, where I knew that was going to be a connection from the very beginning. But it is a little odd, but that's how it goes. That's how it pegs down.
Santino, can you talk a little bit about working with Scott and how brilliant?
Please don't. Please.
No. Yes.
Please.
No, I mean, he already said it, that it's, Scott's incredibly collaborative and kind. In show business is tricky and complicated and it's not always fun. And I feel like Scott's very good at making sure people are having a good time. And yet also he's incredibly honest. He can be wrong, but he'll be honest. and as well as actors can be wrong, and then we will be honest, like, you're right, that didn't work. He's what you want. He's a collaborator who's also with you through the whole process, and also he easily gives over the power once he feels like, oh, they've taken it, even if the actors are like, no, don't leave, we're not done, no, we're not ready. I mean, Tootsie was so complicated for so many reasons, just technically. And yet, we did 9 readings in an out-of-town, and made changes to the script when we were running it. So, that's what you want. You want someone in the trenches with you, who also has a sense of humor and is a good person, who's not a monster. People with the power that Scott has and the ability, it's very easy for those people to dip over into the monster place. And he hasn't done that yet. And if he did, I would be there. I'm sure Jane would be there. Deb Monk would be there. We would all be like, what are you doing? Stop
That is true.
Yes.
That is very true.
Yes.
They protect me.
Yes.
No, that's Yeah. I mean, he said it all. And like I said, and it is very, you know, he was such a part of the show. You know, I mean, you said that, and I remember, God, we went in and we did all these tests for Dorothy, and how would she look, and how everything was just, and obviously he was a major part of that. It had to be. There was never, you know, there was never one step that he was not involved with. But also that was an incredible company. And that again goes back to my one confidence of casting. And they were all a joy to work with, and it became a company. And God, did we just, you know, talk about laughing and trying to figure stuff out. And Santino, you always said, I think, you know, sitting back and watching those other people play at the top of their game. I mean, that group just played at the top. You know, you were just in a room with incredible people, you know. So.
Yeah. It's very rare to be surrounded by people who are that skilled, but also facile, and being able to, like, the writing of a wave. And this is also Scott choosing these people where you don't know how somebody can audition, or you can see somebody's work, but you don't know what it's going to be like when there's a house of 1,600 people laughing at every other line, or laughing at every line, or not. And being able to ride those waves, it's almost separate from acting. It's like a different skill. It's not necessarily about, you know, pretending to be in given circumstances. And yet all of those, the entire cast, without ever talking about it, knew exactly how to ride the waves as they presented themselves. That's just really rare. It's also rare, I will say, because this is public, and I would never say this to him privately, but Scott's ability, people, I think because he's been around, because he's done so many great things, they forget Scott Ellis is a man who, yes, he was in the rink, but also he has directed new plays, revivals of straight plays, new musicals, revivals of musicals, television. And television in all genres. So, you know, hour-longs, half-hour multi-cams, half-hour single cams. That's going to be complicated to a lot of people, but that is kind of like the career I think most actors wish they had as actors. So his being able to talk about a musical where it's a musical comedy, let's be honest. Okay, we got to talk about where's the laugh, which sounds gross, but we have to talk about that. But then we could also talk about the internal arc of an emotional scene dramatically, which you would talk about in a straight play all the time. And being private in public and being able to talk about all that stuff, it's very rare. You often get people who do one thing really, really well. Scott does a lot of things.
Well,
very well.
Santino, I hear there's a clip from the rink that you often play.
Yes.
Scott.
Yeah.
Do you want me to get it? I can get it.
Okay.
It's basically right before he dies. Liza Minnelli.
You've got to explain what it is. And by the
You
way,
die.
he did this. Let me just tell you this. I can't believe he's doing this.
Pull it up.
He did this while we were in Chicago.
I did it at New York Station Film. I've done it.
Oh, that's right.
All the time.
And he just puts it up to a microphone, and you hear this, and just out of nowhere he'll do this.
I mean, not because my internet is so bad, it probably won't work. But here's what it is. It's Liza Minnelli singing like at the top of her lungs, like crazy singing. And he sings a little thing, and she says, "Danny, you're too stoned to drive." Only she's singing it, which is a great lyric, Fred Ebb. And then you hear, "Woo, woo, woo." That's when he dies. It's bizarre.
Yeah.
I suggest everyone to go check it out.
Yeah,
I'm amazed that there hasn't been a revival.
Yes. So right before she dies, I sing a little.
You die, not before she dies. Before you die.
Me, the character, not she. She doesn't die. I die. Danny dies. But I sing that. Oh God, I could tell it. Well, I can't.
No, you can't.
Oh, I can't tell you. Oh, I have some stories, but I can't. Thank you, Santino, for telling me I can't. So,
I feel like everyone needs a good roller rink musical. I feel like that's what we're missing. There's two women, and they're gonna lose the roller rink. Save it. What are higher stakes than that?
What are higher stakes?
And with that, Santino, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, guys.
It's been
Love you, Scott. Thanks.
Santino, thank you.
Bye.
Talk to you later. Bye. Oh my God. Wow.
Diving back into the question.
Listen, here's one more thing.
Yeah.
Now you can see how grateful I am. I mean, you have those
You get
people
everything
who
done.
pop in and say hi and talk, and
I couldn't get anything done. They're the funniest people in the world. I mean,
you don't get better than those two.
Yeah.
Seriously, I feel so incredibly grateful. I've worked with so many unbelievable people.
I think the feeling is probably mutual, Scott.
Well, I'm lucky guy.
This next question is from Charlie from Washington, D.C.
My hometown.
There you go. I happen to know since 2002, you've been mentoring Bronx high school students who each season attend numerous New York theatrical productions, including your own, under a program called Open Doors. Has your professional life, including your directorial approach, been affected in any way by your many years of interactions with these teenagers and their teachers?
100%. I've been with the Wendy Wasserstein started it, and she did it 1 year. And for viewers who don't know, it's called the Open Doors program that Wendy Wasserstein started. And her idea was to bring kids who don't usually go to theater a chance to go to the theater. And then it's very simple. You go out after the show, you have pizza, and you talk. That's it. It's just that simple. It's nothing more than that. And it's now grown into a very large thing. But at the time, there were just a few schools. And I remember the first time I went out with these kids and sat down with pizza and talked, I thought, oh my God, I'm going to get so much more out of this than they are, so much more. And that has been, I think it's been over 20 years now that I've done it. Even when I had kids by myself, and it was hard, twins, I wouldn't give it up. Even though in my head I was like, you should give this up, you don't have the time, I wouldn't give it up. So it is an incredible organization, and it's incredible. They're all so smart, and they make you look at things differently, and their questions are so great, and especially on my shows. And by the way, they don't always like my shows. They're not like, they don't hold back ever. So been a few, but I bring luckily I've had shows every year, and so they always come to one show that I do. But yeah, it's remarkable, and it only enforces the fact that how important theater is, and it's important for everybody to go to theater. And I always say to them at the end of graduation, I said, the only gift that you can give Wendy and this program is to continue to go to theater. That's no matter where, college, community theater, I don't care, but go to the theater, and then and hopefully you'll just be bringing people, and that it will just keep growing. So
it's so wonderful. Thank you.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
It's from, sorry.
It's such a beautiful organization. I'm just so happy to be part of it.
We have a link to it right there if you want to check it out.
Oh yeah, please go. Yes.
This next question is from David Jones from Michigan. Scott, what do you look for in an assistant or an associate director?
Good question. I've had so many over the years, and so many great ones. And I guess every associate and I usually start with assistant, and then if I work with them several times, say associate. It's a very tricky thing, because every director is different, every director's needs are different, and every show is different. So it can be from saying, hey, and I always apologize. I said, sometimes I'm going to have you go and get me lunch. That's bad, but I'm going to need that. Great. Up to the point of, you're going to be taking notes. They always take notes. I will give notes during the shows. They will write them down, because I want them to start seeing what I'm thinking, how it is. And then we'll get to the point where I'll say, you can go back to an actor and talk to them and give them these notes. So, but I guess mainly just someone who's again, it's so much about that instinct. Will I want to be in a room with them? And I'm introducing somebody to a group of actors that I've carefully picked. So it's that marriage. But I've had so few bad experiences, maybe one or two, but not some pretty great experiences with that. And my encouragement is always to give a step for them to decide, is this what they want to do? and go do it. And I do it on television too, for people who come and observe, because that's how I learn. So I love coming, observe, and giving as much information and teaching as much as I can. So.
Well, Scott, you've worked on big TV shows from Weeds to Modern Family to Nurse Jackie to 30 Rock, you name it. My question is, how do you work with a whole bunch of different egos? You know, it really varies when it comes to the medium. How do you guide as a director?
I mean, there's also you can say that in theater too, you know. But here's the deal. I always say, as a director, it's my job to figure out how that actor works. Every actor works differently. I'm not going to expect them to work the way I do. I've got to figure out some actors, and in television, they want a line reading. They want to say, tell me where to go, where you need me to be for the camera. And am I giving you this? And they will. Other actors you could never do that with. And there's no, I'm not passing judgment. I'm just saying that's how actors work. Every actor is different. So it's my job to go, okay, that actor I can give a line reading to, and I can say, I need you to go over there, because this actor, I can't do that. So now we're going to have to work a different way. And I'm going to say, let's explore something, let's try. And I have to be ready to change also. So I think that's what it is. I don't like to think of egos, because I think everyone has an ego. You know, I just want to feel how they work, and sometimes that can come across as having an ego. I think actors, I studied with Uta Hagen when I first came to New York, and it was in that book, you know, I still read, but she said, you're in this class to be director proof. I was like, what does that mean? And because she said a lot of directors you're going to work with are not going to be able to help you. And I went, okay, that makes sense. You're going to have to answer your own questions. And so I think actors come into a room always with a wall half up. There's a self-protection. I've said this before, and I feel strongly about it. And it's a director's job to slowly get a trust in the room with the actor so that wall goes down. Because if there's not, the wall will go up and you will never, ever get it back down. Never. But if you can get slowly them trusting and knowing that they can fail or try things without being judged, the wall will come up, and then you're able to explore and play. And I think that's, and everyone's different, but I think that's, as a director, that's my job, to create that atmosphere.
You're really just a champion of actors. It's really terrific to hear.
I love actors. I love them.
I have another viewer who's an actor who wants to come in and ask you a question.
Okay.
Hey, my name is
Ryan.
Hi, how's it going?
Good. How are you?
Good, good.
Where are you calling from?
I'm calling from Huntington Woods, Michigan, and I just graduated from the Juilliard School.
Congratulations. Wow.
Yeah, thanks.
That's awesome. By the way, I couldn't get into Juilliard when I auditioned for Juilliard years ago. So very good for you.
They're lost.
Thank you.
My question is about your journey after college, since I've just graduated, and I'm really interested in your path from young artist to becoming one of Broadway's leading directors, and also about your ambitions and how they've changed from when you were a young artist trying to break into the business, and how they've changed now that you've developed a major career.
From Greece to Tootsie.
So we met when I went to school, Government School of Drama. I was there as an actor, so that was my path. I was going to be an actor, and I acted for about 10 years before I switched and got into directing. But the acting. So and by the way, when I got that job in New York, Greece, I was cast in Greece. Again, I've told this story, but I was cast in Greece, and I came to New York. I was an understudy. I went on for a couple of roles. One I was not right for, and the producer happened to be in the audience, and they called me in the office, and they fired me. And it was devastating. I mean, it was like devastating. It was like I was a young actor, and I just got my first Broadway show, and I was fired. But it ultimately was the best thing could have ever happened, because I had to really ask myself, am I passionate? Is this what I want to do? So that gave me a drive to understand that it's not always going to work. There will be major challenges. There is no way any actor going through a business is not going to have disappointments and failures and successes. It's just no way. So I always, and you're lucky to have come from a good school, I use my training and knowing in my gut I had a really good, a really good feeling of how to work, and I was always leaning on that. Like even if this is not working out, I know what I'm doing because I came from a great school organization. So that path, that's what I sort of kept falling into in the ups and downs, because there'll be many ups and many downs. And then when I turned into directing, when I got an opportunity, which I created that opportunity to direct, and with Flora the Red Menace, then my decision was, okay, I'm gonna steer paths. And I'm gonna say this to you only because always just be aware, we tend to get blinders on, and I think actors do this too. And as an actor, you have to lift those blinders because you have to use everything in your world. And so it cannot be just about the next audition, you gotta open yourself up, because you're gonna use all those life experiences when you are doing a play or a musical, whatever that is. So just be careful. I always tell this to young actors, just even though you have to have that drive, make sure you open up and breathe a little bit and not let life pass you by with just what's the next audition and what's that. So, and one more thing, when I first graduated, I continued taking classes. I auditioned for Udo Hagen's class. I think keeping that fresh and I think that's really important. And Danny has a great school, and I think that these are great things to do to keep those things moving, and then slowly you can decide when you don't need it anymore. Yeah.
Totally. Thank you.
Thanks, Scott. Ryan, congratulations.
Congratulations. That's awesome. It's really awesome. And I know it's a tricky time right now. I've talked to so many, colleges and graduating classes, but it will come back. It'll take a little time. It will come back. And you always just check in with yourself. Is this the only thing I can do? Is this it? And if it is, you'll just keep going.
Yeah.
And ask yourself that question.
Thank you so much.
Congratulations.
Thanks.
Congratulations.
Scott, I have one more question for you.
Yes.
That is, are you still currently working on projects, and how are you staying creative during this time?
Yes, I think I'm busier now than I've ever been. That doesn't mean
Right?
anything I'm doing.
I really thought we could be watching like Netflix movies and eating ice cream, and I can't catch a break, man.
I mean, listen, you're going to learn very fast, and you better take it now, because once you become a dad, things are going to change.
Right.
It's going to change. Jesse Tyler Ferguson, who I'm working with, they just had a baby, and I said, enjoy it now, take it now, because it's going to change. Yes, I'm trying to keep. I have projects that I was working on before coming into this time, and I've started a few more, so I'm just trying to keep active, and hopefully on the other side of this we'll see what happens. But and the truth is, I'm also, as I just told Ryan, I said, it's nice to take the blinders off and being with my kids and my husband and enjoying that, and I've really loved that part. I've truly loved. I've loved having this time with them. So
Scott, thank you so much for being here. It's such a pleasure to talk to you.
Thank you, and thanks for setting that up for Jana Santino. It just made my
of course. I mean, there's no one better in the world, so I'm so happy you can make that happen.
Great.
Thanks. Stay safe.
Take care. Thanks for having me.
Bye. Of course. See you soon. Bye. Thank you so much for joining us. Tune in on Wednesday as we chat with Conor McPherson, director and writer behind Girl from the North Country. On Friday, I sit down with AMDA and Florida State University. And then next Monday, we have director Marc Bruni. Follow us on Instagram at Playbill and at The Growing Studio for the most up-to-date information on all of our upcoming streams. I'm Danny George. This is Broadway Q&A. Take care.